Okay, I'm going to get started. There's 8 people with us so far today, and I'm sure some other people will join us, and we'll do a little recap in a little while and get everybody caught up. So I'm Anthony from Anthony's Creative Classroom, and I'm located here in Cleveland, Ohio. I'm going to move this out of the way, and we're going to get started. And what we're working on tonight is mixed media using old board games in our projects. So tonight I'm going to explore mixed media with a Monopoly board. So you can see I've got a bunch of products here. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you can get a better look. I've got some money, I've got some cardstock, some tokens, some washi tape, some glue, some distress ink, my glue gun, and we're just going to have some fun. I hope you get inspired to dig through your closet, or if you find some goodies at a flea market or a garage sale, you won't just walk past it because you can make some awesome things with some of game pieces and everything else. So let me clear some of this out of the way and we will get started. And I have done a little bit of prep work ahead of time, so you don't have to watch me do all of this from scratch. What I did to begin with was I took my Monopoly board and I cut it in 4 pieces. Then I took a straight edge and I used a box cutter knife to cut the board apart. So I actually cut the Monopoly board apart so that I could use the piece and the deed that goes with it. And of course, I'm going to use Boardwalk tonight for my video. I also have some houses and like the board token. I'm using the cannon tonight. And I took a community chest card and I mounted it on black cardstock already, punched a hole in it, and I put a metal brad through it. And I did ink the edges. So it's really easy to cut the board as long as you have a nice straight edge. I have one of those, it's called a square, it's the big metal piece. So I can cut up a whole bunch of it at one time. And then I just throw it in a Ziploc bag and go from there. I haven't used the jail yet, and I haven't used the Go on a project yet, but I will be soon. There's plenty of properties so you can do a whole grouping of cards or whatever you want to do. So tonight we're going to make a 5x7 card. So let me take the board out of the way. And what I've got is I have a card base, and I used blue because of the blue in the board. The edging on the Monopoly board is blue, so I used a blue for my card base. I have a black panel, and then I just grabbed a piece of purple, and I don't care about the color because it's going to get covered, but it was 110-pound cardstock, and I wanted something nice and solid for my base. So what I'm going to do with this piece is I'm going to collage the money to make a background. So I already started inking the edges of my money, and I've got 3 more pieces of that to ink. And because the Monopoly money is so thin, I took a piece of chipboard and I cut it to the size of the money just so it's stiffer to ink the edges. So I'm going to ink the edges real quick, and hopefully I have good ink now because I re-inked my ink pad. So we'll see what I get. Oh yeah, much better than the first part. Because I'm doing mixed media, I'm going to use distress products with it. You can use any kind of ink you have. I just went to my go-to of Vintage Photo. So I'm going to ink these few pieces of money left. And then I also want to ink my piece of the board and also my deed. And I don't know about you, I can't remember how long it's been since I reached play Monopoly. There's only two of us that live here, so Monopoly with two people is not very fun and entertaining. So it became a craft item. I am going to go look at the flea market this weekend and see what other board games I can find. Any board game is good if you're a poker player or you play a lot of cards. Get some poker chips and some play money and some playing cards and use that to make your project. So it doesn't have to be a board game. It can be anything. If you play canasta or pinochle, use some of those cards as well. Community chest tag card is already inked and mounted, so you don't have to ink that. It was that quick to ink all my pieces. So we're done with the ink. And the way I'm going to set these all off to the side. And the way I'm going to attach my money, I'm just going to use some glue and my non-stick craft mat, because instead of putting the glue right on the money, I'm going to put the glue right out of the bottle onto the mat. Because if I try and do this, it'll be a mess. So I'm just going to put some glue on my mat, and I'm going to use a foam brush, and I'm just going to put glue on the money, just like if you were going to use Mod Podge to do collage work or matte medium or something like that. We just need to get some adhesive on it and stick it down to our paper. And because I'm working on cardstock, I don't need to use matte medium or anything. Plus, I don't want this to be real shiny. So it's this easy and this quick to do a project like this. And if you're going to do a whole bunch of different cards, you could take them and do a whole background on a 12 by 12 or an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper and then cut that up to make your card fronts. So there's no real right or wrong to that. So I'm going to grab another mat real quick because I'm like sticking to that one while I'm trying to do glue and move it around. So I'm just going to grab a second mat here real quick. And if I get glue on the front of my money, no big deal. It's going to get covered up a little bit as well. And you could also do this same technique if you didn't do it with board game pieces. You could do it with printed cardstock and printed paper. So this same idea could work to make a background with paper you already have and use it as with stamps and ephemera and everything. So, but I wanted to touch base tonight on using board games that are just sitting around, and we all have them. I remember as a kid, Monopoly could last a couple of days, and we would slide the board under the couch at 3 o'clock in the morning and go sleep for a couple hours and come back after breakfast and keep playing. So, Monopoly was a big deal in our house growing up. Need a little bit more glue. Like I said, you could use Mod Podge if you wanted. I don't have any, and I'm just going to use the glue because I'm just gluing paper to paper. And I'm going to tear some of it up because I need to fill in some gaps. So I'm just going to tear some up too, and since I'm doing a collage background. And I'm going to refresh my screen so that I can see if I have any new comments. Welcome to the people who are just joining us. And I hope everybody's having a good day. And I know I was chatting with a couple people online on Facebook Messenger when I posted about what we're going to do tonight, and they're like, I have all these games now, I'm going to learn something to do with them because they're just sitting here um, all over the place. So, and let's see, I'm going to take the rest of my $20 bill and tape it up. And this is a quick process. It will go much faster when I'm not sitting here talking to myself, which is getting easier each week to talk nonstop while you all are watching what I'm doing and typing your comments. So I'm happy that you're joining me and that we're having a good time. I'm going to take this last little piece, a little bit more glue. And the glue, when it's dry, will just rub right off this craft sheet, so you don't have to worry about any of that. Get this last piece glued down. I want to break up this little bit up here a little bit and get some other color up here. So, and I'm not going to worry about this down here because I'm going to wrap around the edges of my cardstock with some washi tape to finish that off. So I just need to give this a second to dry. And because I'm impatient, I'm going to hit it with the heat gun real quick. Okay, now that that loud noise is gone, and we'll move this out of the way, and I'll clean the brush later. If I even clean the brush, I may just throw it out because the foam brushes are next to nothing. Okay, so I'll let that cool off for a minute. So just to recap, because I know some people popped on a little bit later, and I am doing making a 5x7 card, and I'm using pieces from Monopoly to do a mixed media project. Okay, so this is pretty much dry, so I'm just going to take my scissors and cut off whatever's hanging off the edges. I chose to take the edges of all of my Monopoly money, and I inked the edges with a blending brush and vintage photo ink. You don't need to ink the edges, but I just like the look. Let's push that out of the way. So here's my card front background. So like I said, I've got a couple of weird gaps in it. No problem, I'm going to cover my card with washi tape around the edges. And I like the washi tape because I can just put it down and tear it and let it do its thing. And you could use any kind of washi tape. If you didn't have washi tape, you could just use blue painter's tape or masking tape and cover that with some ink from your stash to change the color of it. There are times where I don't have matching washi tape, and I will take an ink pad and drag it over plain old masking tape, because it's basically the same thing. And I know you got here late, so if you didn't want to use the glue, you could use Mod Podge, and just like if you were going to glue any other paper down. So the next thing I want to do to the washi tape is I want to take my bone folder and I want to burnish that washi tape down to my card. Because sometimes washi tape isn't real sticky, and it's got the texture of the overlapping paper to go over as well. So since I'm going to mount this on another card, I don't need to take the time to cut the washi tape off. I can just wrap it around the card. And that just finishes off all my edges really nice on my card front. I could take my ink and re-ink the edges again, and I am going to do that. So just take a second. So I'm just going to put some ink or vintage photo around the edge just to be consistent since I used it on the money. So it's that quick to ink the edge. It doesn't take a lot of time. Because this is a little warped, I'm going to use my score tape to hold it down. I don't want to use glue because it's already warped. So I'm just going to use the score tape real quick on the back side. If you don't have score tape, you can use red line tape. You could probably get away with a tape runner, but because this is curling so much from the liquid and the glue, I'm going to use the score tape on it. Oops, sorry, the dogs outside are fighting in the neighborhood. Usually I have the window open. It's a little warm in here today, so I don't have the window open. I mean, I do have the window open. So I'm going to burnish my tape real quick. And I'm going to mount this onto the black. Okay. So I'm going to take and I'm going to peel this off this edge, and I'm leaving just this one spot with a little tail on it. And I'm going to line up my paper, and I'm using a real tiny edge this time. I'm going to get it lined up. I'm going to press this part down so it stays in place and peel this off. So now all of my paper is stuck together. I use my pokey tool to get the edges of the paper up on the tape. So much easier than fighting with it. Centering that edge down. And then, excuse me. Come back and get this part right here. And this part right here. And stick that down. So there's my card front. And because of the way I put the money down, there's no up or down. And then that'll just get attached right to my card. And for this one, I'm going to use my Easy Runner just to make it go faster. Sorry about the noise this makes. Yeah, I did use an acrylic stamp block to tear the tape. Plus I used the block to press the tape down as I get to the edge. So we're going to line this up. And press that down. A little crooked, so peel it up and put it back down. Okay, so there's our card. So now I'm going to take the pieces I have left, and I do need to plug in my glue gun so it can heat up, because I need to use the glue gun to glue down the houses and the metal piece. I poked a couple holes in the deed, and I am going to put a couple of brads through that just to add a little embellishment to my project. And you can just bend the tails however you need to bend the tails on the brad so that they don't show up on the outside of your card. Okay, so those are on there. There's already one on here. And then I have my token and my couple of houses. So first I want to figure out where I want to put what. I'm going to put my deed here at the bottom. So I'm going to glue that down. I'm going to glue my deed down. I'm going to put the piece from the board right here. And I'm going to just put some glue on that. And I just give it a little twist to make the glue adhere. Okay, I've got the community chest, and it's going to take up too much of my card. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to let it hang off and cut off the rest. So add some glue to that. Put that up here like this. Press that down. I'm going to take my scissors and just cut off this part that's hanging off the edge. Now it's not going to go to waste. I'm going to put some more glue on it. And we're going to put it up here. So that part's going up there. So I didn't just throw out the part I cut out, I just stuck it at the top. So now I just need to wait for the glue gun to heat up to do the last couple pieces. Let me see if it's dripping yet. So while I'm waiting for the glue to heat up to finish this, I'm going to show you another project that I made and explain to you how I made it. Got glue all over the back of that, but that's okay. So the glue gun is heating up, so I'm going to put these pieces back in my little tray so I don't leave them on my table. I took flat mounted canvas, the canvas boards that are, it's like the chipboard with the canvas glued to it. So I had an 8x8 one, and I collaged money on the back, and then I took some washi tape and I used my glue gun and I glued some metal corners down. I used the glue gun to attach the tokens and the houses to the board piece. I added some gears, I added some dice to it. And just like I did with the deed and the community chest, I did the deed and the chance. This one I put a little wooden paper clip on it, and I wrapped some washi tape. So the way I did this, because I was on the canvas, I used Ranger Multi-Medium Matte and a brush, and I put some of the matte medium on the canvas, laid the piece of money down, and put another layer over the top. Just like you would do with Mod Podge if you're doing decoupage or something like that. It left a slick finish on it, so I had to glue everything with the glue gun because the regular glue would not make the connection and the grip. Also for this, I had to use my hot temp glue sticks to glue onto the matte medium. And these canvases came from Michael's, and I bought them in, believe it or not, the children section. They have a built-in stand on them, so I didn't have to create a stand. So this just goes like this, and then it stands up. So I can just put this right on my shelf in my studio and look at it all the time. And I made this in about maybe an hour and a half by the time it took the matte medium to dry. And I used quite a bit of money on it. I think I used 2 of each, but I did a lot of tearing up to fill in the spaces. And then I bought the metal edges and the brads on Amazon. The metal gears came from Amazon. The dice were in the Monopoly game. So I just have this really nice thing to just set up on my shelf. Let's set that over here and finish up our card because now the glue gun is hot enough. I'm just going to put some glue on the bottom of the house. And obviously this is a card you're going to have to hand to somebody or ship it in a padded envelope. And the thing I hate most about glue guns is all the string. So I got my 2 houses on there. And I've got my token piece, and I'm going to put my token piece on the bottom like this, so I have a flat edge instead of putting it up here. It might stick. Let's give it a try. We'll put some glue up here and some glue on this edge. And if it doesn't stick, we'll do something else. And I want to get this wad of this extra glue out of here. Get the glue strings off. And here's my card. So I'm going to lift it up instead of trying to zoom into it. You can see I did the money on the background. Because I applied the money to my cardstock with the glue, I did not need to put another layer on the top. When I did this and I used the multi-medium, I did put a layer on top to help hold the money down, and I needed to use the glue gun to hold everything down because of the texture that created. And I will tell you, like I said, I needed to use my hot temp glue. I used the low temp glue and it didn't hold everything down. So on here, I just used my normal glue other than to glue the pieces to the section of the board for the houses and the token. And the token did stick to my card. So if you were going to mail this, you could put it in a padded envelope, in a 5x7 padded envelope. and you would just have to put a thing on it that said please hand cancel. I am going to go to the flea market and look for some other board games, and I will post some pictures of other things that I've made using board games on Facebook. So it's a quick video tonight, and sometimes I keep you for over an hour and a half, and so far we've only been on for about 40 minutes. Again, these are my projects. Let me flatten this out real quick so that they're both laying flat. And this was done with pieces from Monopoly. So it started out as this, the money and the deeds. And like I said, if you were here late, the piece from the board I just cut out with a box cutter because the board is so thick. That's what I have for you tonight. Each week the live gets edited down so it's not so long, and you can find the replay on the YouTube channel. The reason I suggest you go to the YouTube channel is that Facebook deletes videos now after 30 days. So if you wanted to go back and watch something I've done in the past, it's not going to be there. And I look forward to chatting and crafting with you soon. Thanks everyone. Have a great evening.